um, you know, the stars communicating with the celestial hierarchies, communicating with various secret societies, initiates, world disciples, all these secret societies and Freemasonry, Rosicrucians, all of that. And I thought you would find this interesting, Gary. I thought I would bring this up. This is from Alice Bailey. She came out of Theosophy. She was born in the 1880s. She died in like 1940s, but she was born from like uh, a well-to-do family. She was born of money, but she ended up being influenced by Blavatsky and Theosophy, and she started teaching actually the secret doctrine. And she said to have been a psychic, but I actually think she was using Vedic cycles for this because we have the Yuga cycles. And in March 21st, 2025, the Kali Yuga ends and a new cycle begins. And I think this is what she's talking about. But check out this, Gary, in this prophecy that she wrote. This was published in 1957, but she wrote it in like the 1920s. It says, thus a great and new movement is proceeding and a tremendously increased interplay and interaction is taking place. Remember, she wrote this in the 1920s. It was published first in the 1950s by her Lucifer Trust, it was originally called, but then they changed it to the Lucis Trust. It says, a great new movement proceeding and
Yeah.
tremendously increased interplay and interaction taking place. This will go until AD 2025. And during this years intervening between now and then, great changes will take place, and the great general assembly of the hierarchy, held as usually every century in 2025, the date in all probability that will be set for the first stage of the externalization of the hierarchy. So something is going to be revealing themselves, maybe related to a celestial hierarchy. Is this an antichrist that's going to come in 2025 that they're talking about? I'm interested in you answering this.
Yes. So, I mean, that's the timetable that they've been working on from a outside date. It may not happen quite on their time frame, but we're certainly seeing a doubling down for the globalist movement and the universal religion movement to try and move that forward. So it's interesting.
Hey YouTube world, Harvest is plenty. Hope all is well. Thanks for stopping by to check out the video. I hope you guys have been well. I've been working a lot and I've been traveling a little bit. And so I haven't had the chance to put up a video. But Pope Francis, he died on Easter Monday. He was, disappeared really from public view because of his sickness. But then he showed up on Resurrection Sunday, waved to the crowd, did his thing, and then he died the following day at 88 years old. Now, there's a lot of significance of the number 88, and we're going to get into that. But Pope Francis, he did a lot to move the world closer to the New World Order and establishing the one world religion. I did a video that I'll post below of him opening up the one world religious headquarters. Click on the link below in the comment section and you can see that video. Pope Francis was a Freemason, but at the same time, giving doublespeak, saying that the Catholic Church, that they abhor Freemasonry and that they stand against it. And you will hear that a lot, that people say, well, the Catholics and the Catholic Church are against Freemasonry, when almost all of the cardinals and bishops and pretty much most of the popes are Freemasons. Again, look at the video down below that I did on them establishing the one world religious headquarters. They're pushing towards that, and it's coming soon. We're in 2025, and I talked about what is called the externalization of the hierarchy. That video is below as well, so take a look at that. And everything is lining up right on cue, you know. And I know a lot of people don't see it. A lot of people are blind to that fact. And then there's also people talking about the last Pope prophecy. You guys may have heard of it. You may have not. And so I want to put this headline here. It says, was Francis the last Pope from St. Malachy prophecy? And we're going to touch on it. So there's something called the last Pope prophecy. And they said that the last Pope will reign until Jesus Christ returns. And it says here, according to an old prophecy attributed to St. Malachi or Malachy, Pope Francis might have been the last pontiff before the end times. In the prophecy of the popes, a writing published in 1595 and attributed to a 12th century Irish saint, all popes are listed under allegorical names which portray aspects of their reigns. It says, according to the legend, Saint Malachi or Saint Malachy, the Archbishop of Armagh, received a mystical vision where he saw the reigns of every pope to ever lead the church, starting from Celestine II. The list runs through the centuries, predicting the reigns of 112 popes, and some believe all popes until the end of times. So let me just scroll down here a little bit. So they talked about 112 popes. And it said the last pope is going to be Peter the Roman. It says, is Francis Peter the Roman the last pope? Of course he's not. There's one more pope that's coming, and I'll talk a little bit about that. It says that as the list ends, the author concludes with a short paragraph describing the end times. In a final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit Peter the Roman, who will pastor his sheep in many tribulations, and when these things are finished, the city of seven hills, Rome, will be destroyed, and the dreadful judgment, or the dreadful judge, Jesus Christ, will judge his people. The end. So that's a prophecy that was given. Is the prophecy true? I don't know. It could be, because things are lining up, right on time with the externalization of the hierarchy that Alice Bailey talked about. Now, I remember there was an interview, and I shared the interview with you guys before. It was this guy. He was a 32nd degree Freemason, and in his lodge there were a couple Congress people, a couple bankers, and they all were Masons, and they would get together sometimes and they would talk. And they said that there was another pope that was coming, and that this pope will be the guy to bring everything together in terms of the one world religion. So when I heard that, that interview, I'm like, okay, Pope Francis is probably not going to be around for a little bit, and another guy will come in and step in his place. And things are aligning perfectly with the golden age. Zep Tepi, the first time when the fallen angels came down before the flood, during the days of Noah, and they asked Jesus, the disciples, they said, Lord, when will you return? And he said he will return when things are the days of Noah. Now, Noah lived before the flood, and he lived also after the flood. So he had a chance to see what happened before the earth was wiped clean with the flood. He also lived during a time during Nimrod in the Tower of Babel. And that's where we're at today. He died at 88 years old. And the 88 is it has significance, spiritual significance. It mapped out the heavens and the constellations, and this was created by the Sumerians and the Babylonians back in the day. And it had to relate to the watchers, the stars. In the Bible, the stars are called angels, or angels are called stars. And that's what that was related to. I want to show you guys this, and I did a video about that. It says the 88 constellations and their brightest stars. Let me blow it up a little bit so you guys can see this. See this? The 88 constellations and their brightest stars. And it shows the 88 constellations, right? I'm just going through them a little bit so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. And I want to show you guys something about these 88 constellations. And I will show you the video. I will link a piece of it that I did a year ago on the constellations and on Back to the Future. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But it says right here in this overview, it says the ancient Sumerians, Babylonians, and later the Greeks established the majority of the northern constellations that are officially recognized today. So when it comes to the constellations, it came from the Babylonians and them back in the day. The number 88, has to do with as above, so below. Even your guy, Trump, he uses the 88. Look, it's right here. Text Trump to 8822. You think that they just came up with that number by happenstance? As he coming in as the 9/11 president? Remember, he said, Christians, I love you, Christians. I'm not Christian, but just vote for me one more time. You just got to vote for me one more time, and in 4 years, it'll be all over. I did a video about that, of Trump saying it himself out of his mouth. Vote for me one more time, and within 4 years, it'll be over. You'll never have to vote again. You guys remember that video? And here he has the same 8822. The 22 stands for the major arcana. And in case you guys are wondering what that is, there's a deck of tarot cards. And in the deck of tarot cards, there's the major arcana, which is the 22 most significant cards in the tarot deck. And each of those 22 cards holds significance individually by itself. But then combined, they tell a united story together, holds an even more larger significance together, the major arcana. And the story that it tells, there's a main character in that united story of the 22 cards of the tarot deck or the major arcana. And the character is called the Fool, F-O-O-L. The Fool is the major character in the united story in the major arcana. And it's kind of like they're laughing at us and calling us the fool because we don't see what's going on. And when you try to explain to people what's going on, they don't want to listen, they don't want to hear, they want to debate, they want to argue, and all those things. And it sucks, and it's sad because they're preparing. You know, as Trump said, the golden age is getting ready to start. He want to put a golden dome, supposedly, over America, like the supposedly Iron Dome in Israel. So isn't that interesting? But yeah, guys, you know, it's countdown to the end. You know, I told you we're living in the last generation, and we don't have long before the Lord returns. So that's why you should get your house in order. And there's a lot of things that must take place. The grid must go down, the banking system must collapse, and all these things so they can raise it back up. You know, interesting. On Monday, I had a very weird dream. It was very vivid, and I think God was showing me some of the things that's going to happen right before the end. Some things, some signs in the heavens, and some things in the skies. You know, in my dream, I saw stars just falling out the sky, and it was like amazing. And then airplanes just started falling out the sky and exploding all over the place. You know, I'll come back and do a video about that dream. It was crazy. But I'm also going to link here pieces of a video that I did a year ago dealing with the 88 and the 22 and talking about Back to the Future. If you guys remember the movie Back to the Future, that's where we are going. Back to the Future is about going back in time during the days of Noah, the days of Enoch, the days before the flood and after the flood during Babylon. And that's what our future is going to look like. So that's why it's called Back to the Future. The future will reflect what happened during the days of Noah. And that's what's predicted in the Bible. People say the Bible's not real, it's fake, it was created by Constantine and the Roman Catholic Church or whatever. Yet the Bible is undefeated. The only book of prophecy out of all the religions. You know, you can look through the Kabbalah, you can look through the Quran, the Vedas, the Upanishads, all those other books. None of those books are books of prophecy, only the Bible. But anyway, check out this video, guys. Notice the 9/11 that's in it. Trump is the 9/11 president. So back to what I was saying, right on cue, right on time, right on target. Text the Trump to 8822. The 88 constellations referencing the Watchers, the fallen angels, and the 22 for the tarot card deck, the major arcana. As you know, Trump is a Kabbalist and he's also a Freemason. Guys, there's a lot coming towards us. I hope you're ready. I don't have a time frame in terms of, oh, it's going to happen next Tuesday at 12 o'clock. I have no idea. It could happen at any moment. Just be ready, be prepared. I love you guys. I will be back with more content. May the good Lord continue to bless you and your family. 88 days. And we're going to get into this number, 88. But as I said, guys, there's another 9/11 coming. And all of that stuff has been put into the movie Back to the Future. A second 9/11, the 88 days. And matter of fact, just let me just show you guys.
Damn it, Doc. Why did you have to tear up that letter? We only had more time. Wait a minute. I got all the time I want. I got a time machine. I could just go back early and warn him. Okay, 10 minutes ought to do it. Okay, time circuit's on, flux capacitor, fluxing, engine running. All right. No. Not this time. Come on. Here we go. This time, come on. Please, come on.
So did you guys catch any of that? Did you catch the 11 in the street in the middle representing the Twin Towers, or representing the 1-1 with the 9 hanging up on the off the as a signature or the sign 9/11? That was there in Back to the Future. And as I said, there's 88 days remaining after October 4th. And 88 stand, where they get the 88 from and what the 88 means. Well, as I said before, as above, so below. There are 88 constellations in the sky. I'll pull this up so you guys can see this. It says that at its first General Assembly held in Rome in 1922, the IAU Commission on Notations and Units agreed on a list of 88 constellations covering the entire sky, with three-letter abbreviations of their Latin names. These are the 88 IAU constellations that are still recognized today. And so the IAU stands for International Astronomical Union. So that's where the 88 comes from. The heavens, 88 constellations, as above, so below, which is dealt with a lot in the occultic world and Freemasonry.
Calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit. What's this? What's this? What did I tell you? 88 miles per hour! The thermal displacement occurred exactly 1:20 a.m. in 0 seconds!
Ah, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, Doc, you disintegrated Einstein.
Calm down, Marty. I didn't disintegrate anything. The molecular structure of both Einstein and the car are completely intact.
Where the hell are they?
The appropriate question is, when the hell are they? You see, Einstein has just become the world's first time traveler. I sent him into the future.
So did you guys catch that? The license plate out of time, the 88, they need to go 88 miles to go back to the future. So that's where we're at. We're going back in time, and the place in time that we're going back to is the days of Noah during the pre-flood world. That was considered their golden time of day. That's why the license plate is California, the golden state. It represents their golden time of day. So we're going back in time to get to the future, which is what the future is going to look like. Their golden time of day, the days of Noah. That's why when they asked Jesus, Lord, when will you return? He said, my return will be when it's back like it was during the days of Noah.